At the time of recording this video, we're in June of 2021, and we can say 2020 was definitely a year for the record books. Going through a pandemic and shutdowns all over in the US and outside as well. And we have also had some really odd weather this year. But all of these things together, we're pushing through and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we are hitting some of those repercussions for that time off and that weird weather. And so in today's video, we're going to talk about how to avoid a couple top ways to avoid price increases as well as supply shortages when it comes to packaging materials. If you are in the packaging industry or not, you've probably heard and seen of a couple different materials like lumber and other things and services that the price has gone crazy high, as well as lead times are getting longer and longer. Good luck if you tried to get any household appliances like a fridge, a dishwasher in the last year. Good luck getting somebody in to work on your house like a plumber, electrician, all of these services that are normally here on the spot. It's been really crazy. And the packaging industry is no different with these price increases and shortages and extended lead times. But to be able to supply our customers and to be able to fill customer orders, those are not going away. And yet the demand is even getting higher for a lot of things, both in food industry and retail and cosmetics and clothing, all these things. And obviously even some industry, maybe electronics, things like that. The demand is getting greater and greater, and yet it's harder and harder to find materials to package those things. And so I'm going to talk to you about kind of two ways that we can try to avoid price increases as well as supply shortages. Nobody wants to have to send that email or get on the phone and call their customer and say, hey, we're not going to get you product because of packaging. We never want that to be the case. Obviously there's ingredients if it's food or other components, but us in packaging, we don't want to be the reason we're not able to supply our customers with what they need. So number one, the first way to try to avoid price increases and shortages, and this one right here, this is actually driven by suppliers or vendors. And so if you saw one of our last videos talking about the different types of packaging suppliers and vendors, this one comes directly from them. I've had a ton of requests from companies I work with personally to get me this, and that is forecasts. Now, it can be very hard to put together a forecast when, you know, customer orders and things are fluctuating so much, but to just have an idea of maybe a monthly usage, things like that, this is going to help so that you don't hit any shortages. But it also helps so that the price increases, it'll kind of combat those because freight charges are going through the roof as well. And so when we get behind and we don't have materials, we go and find a substitute material for our package. That's going to cost more. Expediting shipping is going to cost more. And so we're adding all these unnecessary costs. So number one, if you can, get your suppliers and vendors in packaging or in any industry a forecast of what you are looking for. I've heard from many different suppliers, vendors, that they have tons of space to schedule on the line for production. Many of my suppliers, vendors, have actually added lines, manufacturing lines to their facility over the last year because demand has gone through the roof. But now they're getting longer and longer lead times on materials themselves. And so they're not able to fill my orders or our company's orders because they don't have the material to then run. If you can, try to order the material And a lot of suppliers, you can ask yours particularly, they will hold that material for you just so that they can fill your orders. Wherever you are, make sure that you try to communicate the demand. It'll save on costs like shipping and substitute materials, and then it'll also save you from getting any shortages in supply. Now, the second area to try to avoid price increases as well as shortages on supply is going to be qualifying new and different suppliers for the same material. One thing that I had to do is when I got a notice from one of my supplier vendors saying, hey, the price of this basic flow wrap film, like we've talked about in other videos, one of those came to me and said, hey, you're gonna get this big price increase, say in a month. It's gonna start on the 1st of April or whatever it was. What I had to do then is go and find another supplier, or luckily I had another supplier that was already pre-qualified for that same material. And so I was able to kind of price shop around to different suppliers, see maybe what their lead time is, what they had available, what the cost was of their roll compared to this guy. And I was able to kind of balance out maybe that increased price. And then later on it actually came down, and so I was able to go back to them. And so that just an example. So you want to have a pre-qualified secondary supplier. That's going to be really important to find the best price for your material, as well as it helps with so that you don't go short. Again, those are our two areas to try to help us to avoid price increases as well as shortages in supply when it comes to packaging materials at this point in 2021, after our pandemic in 2020. We're all doing what we can, and so hopefully those thoughts and those areas are helpful to you and your company and your job, as well as if you're a smaller individual packaging things at home, you'll see price increases. Those are kind of going through, and so these same principles about looking at secondary suppliers, qualifying those, looking for the same material but from someone else who might offer at a different price, as well as looking at maybe stocking up on some material. Both of those are going to help us get through this. I hope it changes soon. Now, I hope those 2 points were helpful to you, and these of course go beyond just packaging materials. Any material in general around production. It could be electronics, cosmetics, any ingredient, things like that. These 2 principles are helpful just to get around these price increases again and supply issues. And as I mentioned earlier, we never want packaging to be the reason we can't fill customer orders or get product to a customer or the end user. And so thinking about these 2 principles and going about our business this way will help us to stay out of that mess. And so we will get through this together, but for now, we gotta be flexible and adjust to how the industry is moving. So again, hope this was helpful. And if this is your first video watching, please hit subscribe, as we will talk about more things around packaging. If it's gonna be more supply related, or if it's going to be material or kind of design, all of those things we talk about on this channel, Inside Look at Packaging. Would love for you to be able to join us and see all those. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell so that you know when new videos are posted, as well as like this video if you did find those valuable, as well as comment down below maybe what industry you are in, or if you're seeing odd shortages, or have any comments about the 2 principles that I talked about in this video. But would love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.